The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for waking up with us on this Monday morning. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher. And we begin with your 17 Crime Watch this morning. An investigation is ongoing after a man was shot to death in Delano over the weekend. It happened on Road 148 early Saturday morning around 1 a.m. Tulare County deputies were called to the scene, and they say they found 30-year-old Francisco Valencia dead. No word on what may have led up to the shooting.
A third suspect in a gang-related shooting that killed 2 men at a Delano gas station is due in court later today. The shooting happened almost 2 weeks ago, but on Thursday, Delano police arrested 24-year-old Rito Castillo as he left the new Chick-fil-A on Rosedale Highway through a joint operation with Bakersfield police. Castillo stands accused of street gang-related offenses, conspiracy, and murder, specifically in relation to the shooting on July 14th, resulting in the deaths of 28-year-olds Joshua Pena and Jose Juarez.
All right, fire coverage this morning. A hazmat team had to be called out for a fire in southwest Bakersfield. This all happened on District Boulevard yesterday morning. Check it out. A large number of fire crews were called out because the building houses a bunch of lumber. The road nearby was blocked off as crews battled the blaze, but firefighters say it was hard to completely knock it down because it was smoldering deep inside that lumber.
Fire was inside the building and literally stacks and stacks of lumber. They were able to kind of knock it down, but the fire's deep-seated in that lumber, so it's taking a while to systematically, with forklifts, pulling out the burning material, extinguishing it as they go.
Smoke could be seen for miles across town as crews contain that fire. The cause is under investigation.
Making headlines around the nation this morning, and a political showdown at the southern border is heating up after Texas installed a series of large buoys in the Rio Grande. The Justice Department says Texas Governor Greg Abbott's latest effort to deter migrants is inhumane and must be removed. NBC's Bree Jackson is in Washington.
A political battle at the U.S.-Mexico border. The Justice Department says Texas Governor Greg Abbott has until this afternoon to have a plan to remove the 1,000-foot buoy wall installed in the Rio Grande or face legal consequences. Abbott's latest tactic to stop migrants has drawn major backlash.
Barbaric behavior, and Texans are shocked, they're outraged. It's not just these buoys or barrels, they've got this netting them, this wire netting underneath them, which can trap people.
In a letter sent last week, the Justice Department states the buoys violate federal law, raise humanitarian concerns, present serious risks to public safety and the environment.
If a court determines that these floating buoys fall within the Rivers and Harbors Act, and they're the kinds of things that the state needed permission from the federal government in order to place, then the state of Texas will likely be forced to remove these buoys.
Some Republicans insist Congress and the Biden administration need to do more to secure the border.
The governor, no doubt, is doing everything he can to secure the border, but there is a disconnect between what is happening at the top and the person at the ground that is delivering, that is doing the actual function.
Illegal border crossings are down from record highs, but remain a hot button issue. And the buoy wall is part of Operation Lone Star. That's Texas's multi-billion-dollar effort to counter migration, which also includes busing migrants from Texas to Democratic-led cities. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
Making news around the world to Israel this morning in a major test for the top U.S. ally in the Middle East. Tens of thousands of protesters marched on Parliament ahead of a controversial vote over reforms that have divided the country. All of this amid a health scare for Israel's prime minister. Raf Sanchez has the latest from Jerusalem.
Israel's political crisis is reaching boiling point. Vast crowds marching to Jerusalem in a last-ditch effort to stop Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's plan to weaken the Supreme Court. But after months of stops and starts, the legislation is now heading for a final vote.
These protesters have gathered in their thousands in front of the Supreme Court, the institution they vowed to protect. But Netanyahu says he has the votes and he's determined to push ahead.
That's despite the Israeli leader being rushed to hospital overnight, fitted with a pacemaker after an irregular heartbeat. Protesters say the court is the only check on government power in a country without a formal constitution. But Netanyahu's right-wing religious government says the court is standing in the way of the agenda it was elected to carry out, including expanding settlements in the occupied West Bank. And now a political crisis in danger of becoming a security crisis, with hundreds of Israeli Air Force Reserve pilots saying they won't show up for duty.
We're not going to continue to risk our lives going to serve in an Air Force of a country that is not democratic.
A massive display of people power, but it may not be enough. Raf Sanchez, NBC News, Jerusalem.
Well, you might have noticed something missing if you drove into downtown Bakersfield on eastbound 178 over the weekend. The homeless encampments that sprung up next to M Street and the 178 split are all gone. Caltrans brought in crews on Friday to clean up the makeshift shelters built by at least half a dozen unsheltered people who set up camp on this piece of Caltrans property in early June. A Caltrans spokesperson tells 17 News the department received numerous complaints from people in Bakersfield who felt the encampment should not be allowed in the downtown area, especially in a location that's considered a gateway into downtown Bakersfield. Caltrans could not tell us where those unsheltered people moved to, but we can tell you at least one of them has already moved back to the site. We tried to talk to him, but he had no comment.
Well, crews have recovered the body of a man who went missing in the Kern River 2 weeks ago. The coroner's office says the body of 21-year-old Javon Rubio of Long Beach was recovered from the water near River Nook Campground. Rubio went missing on July 7th up in Kernville. 2 people were rescued that day, but Rubio was not found until Thursday. We now know the name of the man who drowned in the Kern River in early July. The coroner's office says the body of again, that was 21-year-old Javon Rubio of Long Beach who was recovered. And by our count, this is the 4th confirmed drowning in the Kern River so far this summer. All 4 victims were from Southern California, and all 4 were under the age of 28. Officials say there's still a missing man who is presumed dead in an overturned kayak that cannot be reached safely by rescue teams. That man went missing back on July 15th. That was June 15th in the Ant River Canyon near Kernville. Officials say at least 10 people have been rescued from the Kern River this month alone. The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.